This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injuries and additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Mixed Doubles Podcast. We're your hosts, Maggie Robinson
and Smythe Macaulay.
We're former D1 athletes and former colleagues at the NFL, and currently Josh is at the NBA. I'm unemployed, going to Syracuse to study broadcast journalism for a master's program. Woohoo! Funemployed, we're on sabbatical. But if you're interested in more content and if you like what you're hearing, please follow us at Mixed Doubles Pod on Instagram. That is 1D, the Mixed and Doubles, share it. And throw us a little 5 stars on Spotify if you're listening. Apple Pods goes a long way. Makes us look like we know what we're talking about, which is always good. And as always, Josh, take it away.
All opinions stated are our own and have no affiliation with my employer, with your unemployedness whatsoever.
Amazing. It's been a minute. Life has been lifing.
Serious. Like a lot of big moves for everybody involved. I feel like the last podcast, I can't even remember the last regular podcast we did.
The last regular one was too long. We've been slacking, but you're in a new apartment.
I'm in a new apartment. If this is on video, you can see that the walls are barren. So there's a little mirror back there, but otherwise you can't see this, but there are a bunch of boxes behind me. Moved in, like a week and a half ago, so a lot to still unpack, and I'm living out of my suitcase right now because I don't have a dresser, so that's neither here or there. So we'll get there in a bit, but you know what happens. You move into a bigger apartment and you have to buy stuff because you have more space. So
I'm playing my tiny violin for you. I'm so sorry. Your life is so hard.
So sad. But you're home. You're back home before
I'm in Nashville.
Big move.
Yeah, I got like another week here, and then I am up to Q's. And I just told you, but guys, I'm a TikTok vlog, the whole thing, where I'm gonna take you along with me. I literally wrote it down. I was like, I'm gonna do a once a week vlog, and you're gonna come to school with me because I feel like I have so many friends and family who are like, you got to tell me how it is. And this is just a blanket way of making sure that everyone stays up to date with all the tiny happenings that no one really cares about. So,
well, people care.
Keep it a small selection.
Yeah, some people care.
Keep an eye out for that.
It'll be great. I think I had the same idea when I was going to college, and I was like, I'm gonna vlog like my football experience and going to school, and maybe one day like I'll show my kids, and you know if they ever ask like, what was it like going to college in 2018? I'm like, this is what it was like. Obviously, didn't end up doing that, but you'll do it because you've done it, so you believe it'll happen.
It'll be good.
No, it'll be great. Little Maggie Robinson up at the Q's.
Up at Q's.
Okay. We haven't done one of these in a long time.
So long.
So let's just get into it. Another big plays.
And big players, but it's actually been so long that I forgot it was big players. Just kidding, I didn't. But I'm doing The Biggest Loser. That feels really negative. Terrible show. Don't even. Anyway,
what?
Please. I'm doing The Biggest Loser. And The Biggest Loser right now are mid-major women's sports teams and Olympic sports on college campuses. And you might be asking me, Maggie, what are you talking about? And to that, I will explain the House versus NCAA lawsuit that just passed and that is getting started July 1st has a huge unintended side effect. And schools will be able to distribute $20.5 million to respective student athletes as a form of revenue sharing, which as a headline is awesome. We're paying the athletes. They get a cut of the broadcast deals. They get a cut of all the hard work they're putting in. But when I say they, I'm really only talking about revenue generating sports, which are football and men's basketball and maybe women's basketball. Every other sport that an athletics department has on a college campus is not making the money. It's in fact losing them money. So when they have to figure out how to find this $20 million to pay their student athletes, they got to cut budgets somehow. And by doing that, it's by cutting the teams that they see as less valuable. So it's already been happening. UT El Paso cut their women's tennis team. Cal Poly cut women's swimming. Utah cut women's beach volleyball. It's going to keep happening to all these smaller sports that are unfortunately women's sports. And it's just such a painful unintended side effect of this otherwise exciting lawsuit that's coming down. The state of college sports is scary right now.
Yeah, it's one of those things where with NIL, which is obviously, both of us being athletes, a great thing for student athletes to be able to capitalize on. But just having enacted NIL without kind of the necessary guardrails has created Pandora's box and just opened it, and now kind of trying to bottle it back in and create this structure is going to be difficult, especially like you said, for a lot of the smaller schools that ultimately won't even end up having the $20.5 million to distribute. And that's not necessarily how it'll work, right? Like there are tiered schools that will have the 20.5 that they are then distributing. And to your point, it'll be just as it's been before. And you think about like 98% of universities' college athletics revenue is driven by the football team for the most part. And then the other 2% in large part is driven by the men's basketball team, and then maybe a third team. And then if you're lucky, a fourth team, right?
Right.
So it'll just be really difficult. And these were all the arguments that were being made earlier in this process, not primarily against this structure specifically, but just the idea of kind of fragmenting college athletics and the pay for play model, where, the US has been one of the best countries in the Olympics for decades, centuries. I don't know
Hmm.
how long actually I have no clue how long the Olympics have been going on. But a large reason as to why we're so dominant outside of, the money that we're able to put into resources for training is because we have this collegiate athletic structure that a lot of other countries don't have. And
Yep.
so we're able to kind of continue the development, continue the growth and the training of our premier athletes while they're getting an education at these universities. But then also, because these universities are creating and developing these state-of-the-art facilities for their Olympic sports, then you have Olympians coming back and training there. And so you think about like from an Olympic point of view, how that's going to start to diminish the ability for these universities to put dollars into those areas of Olympic sports. And then again, some of the women's sports is just kind of daunting to think about. But at the end of the day, kind of hope that it works itself out. And I personally, voice of one, believe in Charlie Baker. I think he's been doing a good job. So we'll kind of see the direction that the NCAA takes. And there's some other entities that'll start to get involved in college athletics as well, too. So
I want to stop you right there. Can you explain to the listener who might not know who is Charlie Baker? What is his role in all this?
that's a great question. I just like dropped his name. Charlie Baker is the current president of the NCAA. He was formerly the governor of Massachusetts. So he came to the
Did not
NCAA.
know that.
Yeah, yeah. Big time governor, had been in politics for his career, right? So he comes to the NCAA in a pivotal time. This was, I want to say he's been at the NCAA for 2 or 3 years now, maybe four.
Oh, wow. Okay, right in the middle.
Yeah, so he comes at a pivotal time where all of this legislature is happening and coming up that will determine kind of the outlook of college athletics for years to come. And him having the experience on Capitol Hill, on pushing legislature, on pushing bills, being able to work with different parties and come to agreements and come to these kind of like beneficial commitments. I don't know, is something that he's proven to be able to do really well. And he came in with a fresh outlook. The sentiment around the NCAA has never been great, right?
No.
I think people look at it and it's like you're scamming kids out of money and you're putting kids away for the dumbest shit. Like it
Yeah.
has never been a good outlook. And, like for good reason too, because you had the former president, Mark, I forgot his last name, but he was very much on that kind of like amateurism train. There's no, money, knowing full damn well you guys are getting paid under the table, especially some of the marquee athletes. But at the end of the day, the opportunity for college athletes to be paid for their name, image, likeness was the crux of a lot of this. And
Hmm.
to my earlier point, it's just gotten completely out of hand because there were no guardrails in place with the former president. And
Yeah.
I believe if you had the Charlie Baker before NIL kind of became what it became, you probably would have had more foresight in thinking about, okay, how do we establish rules that all of our institutions have to follow? And that's
Yeah.
just what we haven't done. So a lot of
Yeah.
it is left up to, and when I say legislation and rules around NIL and that collection of money and distribution, but a lot of those laws and legislature are left up to the states individually. And so
Right.
really difficult to kind of corral all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a fun college athletics lesson for the viewers, for the listeners.
A light topic to start us off with. Who is your big player this week?
My big player is Jenny Nguyen. So, I mean, completely going away from college athletics. Maybe not really completely, but Jenny Nguyen, we talked about her, gosh, like, I don't know. I feel like we were
Almost a year ago.
almost a year ago when we started this podcast. We talked about her, but for context, Jenny Nguyen was is the founder of the Sports Bra in Portland, which was first of its kind sports bar that would exclusively show women's sports and came around a time where, her whole thesis and why she created the place was because she would go to these sports bars and they wouldn't play any women's sports. And she was like, I'm a fan. Like, I want to watch the I want to watch the PWHL, I want to watch women's tennis, like etc. And it just wasn't at the bars that she was going to. So she went, collected all these funds, but was able to create the sports bra and it blew up. I mean, it's perfect timing too, with the amount of attention and success that women's sports have had since she created the sports bra. And why I'm bringing her back up now is because they are expanding. The sports bra is expanding, which was in the works, and we talked about that too, but they've officially selected the 4 cities that they'll expand to. And so it's going to be Boston,
Mm.
Indianapolis, St. Louis, and Las Vegas. You might be thinking that's a random ass list of cities to put a women's sports bar in. And to use like the listeners, yeah, my reaction was the same at first. I was like, why not Austin? Why not New York City? What are we doing here? And I'm not going to sit here and act like I have all the answers, but I'm sure there was very good reason. And we talked about it last time too, but there was a lot of criteria when it came to who are going to be the new franchisees of these sports bras. And, again, these are going to be locally owned and operated. So they wanted people that were passionate. They wanted people that were embedded in the community. They wanted it to be communities that, have some sort of connection and tie to a women's sports team in and around the city or the state. So all these things kind of culminated in them selecting these 4 cities. And with that, Jenny has been on the record saying that along with Portland, these 5 will become the starting 5 of the sports bra. And
I
then
love it.
they will continue to franchise. So hopefully we'll get one in Austin and definitely one in New York at some point. But these are the starting 5 locations that the sports bra will be coming to you at. So if you're in any of these cities, hit one up.
I like it. And I'm just looking at these and I'm thinking through. So Vegas, we have the
The
Aces.
Aces, for sure.
Awesome. WNBA team. St. Louis, we have a
Same.
lot of women's soccer. You have the Kansas City Current, who are arguably one of the most dominant and well-funded NWSL teams. They just built a whole women's-only soccer stadium there, partly funded by the Mahomes. Thank you, King. And then Indianapolis, you have the Fever. Come on, that's Caitlin Clark. You'd be silly not to. Indianapolis is a sneaky hotbed for sports. You know this is from the NBA. It's where the All-Star is always. For
Oh,
us,
no.
it's where we have, for us, wow, I'm not with the NFL anymore. Oh my gosh. When I was with
Playing
the
my tiny
NFL, that's where the
violin. Playing my tiny violin.
that's where the combine was. But then Boston, you got the PWHL team. You got the Boston Fleet. We just interviewed their GM a few weeks ago. That episode is up. Shameless plug for that. But I mean, they did touch points at every major league. And I kind of like that it was a diverse group of leagues. It's not just here's all the WNBA teams or here's all the PWHL. They really made an effort to hit all of them. And speaking of the PWHL, I want to give you a little recap of their season. It just ended. Second season is in the books, and then Minnesota Frost won their second straight Walter Cup. Clapping for them, please. Cheers. That's
Good
awesome.
transition. Good transition. I just want to sorry to cut you off. Like, wow. Like, keep going.
Wow.
Sorry, keep going.
Wow.
Wow.
I've been working on it. They took down the Ottawa Charge 2-1 in overtime, winning the final series 3-1. And that's awesome for them. But they didn't get that long to rest because there was just an expansion draft and there was so much juicy drama. Let's recap.
Drama.
When we talked with the GM of the Boston Fleet, she explained that there were 2 new teams coming to Seattle and Vancouver. And so there was an expansion draft. So every team had the ability to protect 3 players on their current roster. But that left a lot of people up in the air who weren't protected and weren't protected for various reasons. We don't know all the ins and outs. But Seattle and Vancouver drafted 12-player teams, and to achieve as much parity as they could in the league for the success of the league overall, they had to look years ahead. They were like, you can take whoever you want as long as it's not these three players. So the Minnesota Frost actually lost four of their starting players to the Vancouver team. They just swiped them straight off there. And this one hits close to home. Seattle's first pick was Hillary Knight, the former captain of the Boston Fleet and current Olympian. Women were getting picked off left and right. This was no holds barred. It was crazy.
That's tough. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I would have, if I were the two expansion teams, I would have taken the same route, right? Team that just won the championship. Yeah, I'll take your players. Thank you.
Yeah. And also, June 24th, pretty soon, is the 2025 draft where we'll get to see what new college and international players are going to step onto the scene. So it's a lot of shakeup, but I think it's really good for drawing viewers too, because now these new teams still have established players and established fan bases and people who are
Hmm.
invested in them. And so it's not like they're just showing up out of nowhere. It's the same way when you think about the Valkyries, they have Kate Martin. You're tuning in because, oh, I actually know some of these names already. Now I'm already
Yeah.
invested
Yeah.
and they're competitive.
I mean, yeah, we don't have to get into the Valkyries quite yet, but they had Kate Martin, Caitlin Chen for a hot second, and then they dropped her like a hot
For the
dog
hottest of seconds.
for the hottest of seconds.
You know
Yes.
what else is hot?
The UT Texas Fighting Longhorns.
I was seeing how long it would take you to make that connection in your brain.
I love it. Talk to me.
All right, college softball. As we know, Josh is a big UT fan, despite never having attended the university. That's
Doesn't matter.
okay.
I grew up there. Longhorn for life.
That's fine. Longhorn for life it is. But University of Texas just won its first ever College World Series championship and set a bunch of records while doing it. So, one, give them their flowers. Impressive to win the Women's College World Series because the field has been stacked. Oklahoma has been consistently so good. Texas Tech was sneaky good this year. They had someone new pop onto the scene on their team, and I'm blanking on her name. But it's really hard to break into college softball because that is a very tight group of teams at the very top. And for Texas to win their first one this year of all years, incredibly impressive. Game three of the finals was the most watched ever women's softball game with 2.4 million viewers. Josh, I'm going to be so for real with you. And I mean this with all respect to softball players. I didn't think there were 2.4 million people who cared enough to tune into women's softball.
I was one of them. I was one of them. I was watching that game at the same time as I believe a Knicks game was happening. Or,
Okay,
yeah,
I'll let that slide. That was work for you. But you were also tuned into college women's softball.
come on now. Come on now. Texas is playing. I'm watching.
Absolutely. They also, a lot of people were watching in the stands. 100,000 plus people were in attendance over all the games of this series. They were setting records left and right. This is the start of a big thing for women's softball.
You talk about start of a big thing. The Let's talk about the pitcher for Texas Tech because
Yeah.
I mean, to be completely honest, like she's the reason Texas Tech was in the championship.
Yep.
Money well spent, and I say money well spent because they dropped a bag on her. I'm gonna apologize in advance because I'm gonna mispronounce this name and I can't find it on YouTube or anywhere to hear it. But Najari Kanedi is the player that we're talking about at Texas Tech. She's the pitcher. $1 million for her to transfer from Stanford to Texas Tech. On top of that $1 million, there were some other benefits as well.
Who's giving her this million?
Texas Tech.
Their NIL collectives, like their boosters are throwing her some cash.
Yeah.
Because that
Yeah.
move from Stanford to Texas Tech, let's talk about that for a quick second. Stanford, obviously, incredibly good academic school. You graduate with a Stanford diploma, you're pretty set. Texas Tech is kind of an unknown school for women's softball. They have never been this good. They've always been overshadowed by other teams in the region like Oklahoma and UT. They threw $1 million at her and she was like, yeah, okay, you can buy me. And this is what it'll cost.
They wanted to make a big splash. And I think it's funny that we started, like we talked about college sports at the top. This is going to be one of the things that's important for athletic directors is where do we believe or where do I believe is a good place for me to invest in, right? As a school, as a athletics department that's thinking about revenue generation and like where are some of the opportunities. I mean, the NFL does the same thing with the events, and you're thinking about where are kind of the gaps? Like where can we move one thing out of one box, which might be in this is lower funnel of yes, it's an exciting event or people are interested in it, but we don't do enough at amplifying it. Or, maybe it's a dull event, so what can we do to spice it up? Well, softball's been big. And you think about
Hmm.
softball, like you just said, Oklahoma and Texas have been big schools, and that's right there with Texas Tech. And so you think about, okay, the fans are here, right? We're just not putting the dollars into the infrastructure of the team to get it to a place where people care about and people want to watch. And so
Hmm.
there's an opportunity there. So they go make a big splash, $1 million for the best pitcher in the land, for what people are saying, the best college softball pitcher they've ever seen in their life. And
High praise.
she held it down because like, well, when's the last time Texas Tech was in the championship? I actually don't know.
Never.
But
I don't think they've ever gotten that far.
see, Texas has been in it. Texas has been in it, and they've lost to Oklahoma twice over the last four
Hmm.
years. And so they finally get over the hump. But to that being said, there will be decisions being made, tough ones, obviously, about teams to keep, teams to cut. But I think some of the decisions will also be teams to invest in. In softball, one that Oklahoma is invested in, one that UT is invested in. There are countless other schools, Oregon, I can think of off the top of my head, that have invested in softball and have seen dividends as far as fandom, TV viewership, attendance, etc. It's a great sport, which is why we're going to get into professional softball in the AUSL, which just launched their softball league literally this month, like last week.
Wow. This is
Last
timely.
last week, Athletes Unlimited Softball League. We've talked about Athletes Unlimited before. Athletes Unlimited is a bigger company that has a lot of different professional women's sports leagues.
Hmm.
So, and they do them in different methods as well. But this one is their new pro women's softball league. Again, launched in June, features four teams, and they're playing a 24 game regular season, and that'll culminate in a championship series. And they'll also have like a little all-star game, which would be dope,
Love it.
right? So just highlighting the players. What's big about this one is that it got backed by the MLB.
That's huge. I mean, this feels really similar to the WNBA, NBA, where the NBA has a healthy investment in the W, and they also help them renegotiate their broadcast deals. I think this past year, is it a similar relationship to that, or do you think it's slightly different?
It's a different relationship in terms of the WNBA is a property overall of kind of NBA properties. So
Hmm.
it's NBA, WNBA, G League, Basketball Africa, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. However, in the sense of investment in capital and kind of taking NBA fans and funneling them and having them become W fans just by awareness and amplification from the NBA. I think it's similar in that way too, because what the MLB will be doing additionally, on top of the investment that they're putting into the Women's Softball League, is also airing their games on MLB TV, MLB.com. The games themselves will also air on ESPN and ESPN2. So it'll get a ton of great exposure. But I think
Yeah.
putting it on platforms that are specific to the MLB will be huge for helping current baseball fans be able to see professional softball
Yeah.
and kind of creating that fan funnel and that opportunity for people that likely would be fans of softball and probably are fans of softball and seeing it where they normally consume their baseball.
I think that's the important part is that they don't have to go anywhere else. I think that's where looking at all the broadcasting and how it's done, that's where you lose a lot of people is when they have to start searching and Googling and trying to figure out on what platform, what digitally streamed, is it linear? Do I have to pay for it? It's literally on ESPN, it's on MLB. Like you turn it on, you're going to see a game, men's or
Yeah.
women's.
Yeah.
That feels like incredible parity in the way that other leagues are not doing it.
Yeah. And it's cool. I mean, I think it's really fun to see. You look across all of the sports leagues right now, and I think everybody's kind of starting to, at least now, like invest in their women's counterparts.
Yep.
So again, like I said, NFL flag, really investing in kind of that youth development of getting women and girls excited about playing football and allowing those opportunities for growth. And as we know, because we were there, right? Like really going and campaigning and making sure that flag football for women, for girls are accessible and are accredited at the
Mhm.
high school level, at the college level. So
Yep.
it doesn't just stop once you finish playing in high school. You have opportunities to advance throughout college. And then who knows down the road, pro NFL flag league, right? And
Totally.
get more women that have gone through that pipeline and that are really big fans of it. And then now MLB and softball, NHL, maybe not fiscally, but has been a supporter of the PWHL, putting,
Yeah,
you see the NHL video game that we talked about with Danielle last week. The PWHL teams are accessible in that. So it's just like I think everybody's understanding now the importance of one, women as fans and the fact that they are consumers and they love this as much as anybody else. But then two, like putting your money where your mouth is and investing in the opportunities for these leagues to grow and expand and create these opportunities for women to play in a meaningful way. So I think that's really special.
totally. Someone who didn't do a good job of making sure there was equal broadcasts, women's tennis at Roland Garros for the French Open. Let's chat about it. Listen, in my limited 2 year experience of working at the NFL on the broadcasting team, I feel like I have absorbed a thing or two about scheduling games and working with broadcast partners to maximize viewer exposure. And for the scheduler of the French Open, I would just love a word. And the reason is zero, zero. Hear me when I say that. Zero women's matches were scheduled at night during the primetime slots in any rounds of the French Open. Men's games were every primetime night slot. Women's games had none. They got the morning slots with fewer on-site viewers and also limited linear and digital viewership. The finals were at 3 p.m. on a Saturday. Like just kind of an awkward, like, here you go, the court's open. And even the head of the WTA, which is the Women's Tennis Association, called this scheduling a quote systemic issue, and that the French Tennis Association and Roland Garros completely missed the mark, not just this time, but consistently over years. And so, because they felt threatened, the head of Roland Garros said that she disagreed and that the television contract with Amazon Prime, specifically in France, said that there could only be one game at night and they really had to choose. And she repeated, like, if a game goes long, then it's like it's not healthy for these women to be playing. Mind you, one of the men's matches went until 3 a.m. It's not healthy for a man or a woman to be playing that late, if that's your argument. And then TNT, who broadcasts this in the US, there's a time change. It was not taken into account at all for women's viewership. And the US has really high tennis viewership. I think that's somewhere they've seen a lot of growth. So this just felt like a gross miss on the French Tennis Federation for not putting a single game, not even the finals, in a primetime slot for the French Open.
Yeah, I was honestly shocked when I heard about that. Because yeah, to the point of the time slots, like there is a time change. I think there's a 6 hour time change between us on the East Coast and France. And so a lot of these games you're just naturally missing because they're airing at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, 9 in the morning. Like I was lucky I got to see some of the games because we had our TVs on it in the office, so I'm strolling in at 9 and a match is starting, which is great, right?
Right.
But for the casual viewer, and even for the avid fan, am I waking up on a Wednesday to watch anything at 9 in the morning?
No,
You
you're
know what
going
I
to
mean?
work.
I'm
You're
going,
getting
I'm
about
going to
your
work.
business.
Like I'm lucky I work at a sports league office that has games on their
Yeah.
TVs. But again, like to me it's just insane because you think about like literally just been talking about it, the explosion of viewership, the explosion of fandom. The women in the WTA are household names. Like the
Yeah.
top ones, right? You think about them playing, these are household names and they have been doing a phenomenal job over the past few years. I mean, Serena Williams, and you go back, name in itself, her and her sister, amazing. But now it's like you've got all of these big names that are playing in these big matches. The final was Coco Gauff. Everybody in America knows who that is now.
Hmm.
And Ariana Sabalenka, who's been the world number one for the last like 2 or 3 years and has just been a phenom, powerful woman to watch play. So the fact that like not even the final, and you had great matchups.
Right.
The match that I'm talking about that I saw in the office was Ariana Sabalenka versus Iga Swiatek in the
Uh,
semis. That's an amazing match.
that's so good. Those are two top five, top three, arguably, players in the world right now.
Yeah. It went 3 sets. It was a great match, but insane to me that you could just grossly deny these opportunities for even some of these games. I understand you've got to play the numbers and
Sure.
we've been in the building like it's supposed to be a science and it's an imperfect science, but it's a science nonetheless.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll tell you this, there's no science going on over there. I don't know
That's a
what kind of
big
math
fat
they're doing.
zero.
I don't know what kind of math they're doing over there, but it baffles me because you had a really big opportunity to capitalize on viewership and excitement, and I just don't know that they did on the
Yeah.
women's front specifically. So that's my qualm. But I guess we should talk about like who actually won and all of that fun stuff too. Mention the final matchup, Coco Gauff, who at the time world number two, defeated Ariana Sabalenka, world number one, in 3 sets after Coco dropped the first set and then stormed back, won the next 2 sets pretty handedly, actually. And Coco Gauff winning the French Open actually became the first American woman to win since, drum roll, Serena Williams in 2015. So a decade ago, since an
Wow.
American has won. I mean, Coco Gauff, from a personal standpoint, has been so much fun to watch
Yeah.
and so cool. It was like, all right, cool, like American pride. Like, there's a really good American tennis player out there.
Right.
And she's awesome. We can chat because there was some controversy after the match with Ariana Sabalenka afterwards, kind of being a sore loser. That's what everybody was talking about. She came out and essentially it was just like, well, Coco didn't really win. She didn't really beat me. I beat myself, which is fine, sure. Like you can say that. But the way that she went about saying it, and then to even double down and go, well, if Iga had beaten me, Iga would have beaten Coco. Like what are we talking about? Because
I
I didn't play a good game. Like she didn't do enough to win. I did enough to lose, essentially is what
yeah.
she was saying. Which like we're all athletes and well, what's your take on it?
I mean, she was also talking about the weather and complaining about how that really threw her off and just like, yeah, I beat myself, but it wasn't really Coco's. I just felt like she was diminishing what Coco was doing. And I can understand and empathize with you're in a press conference, you're in the heat of the moment, you just lost, and you're world number one. That feels devastating. I'm sure that feels like the world is crumbling around you. And that's the headspace that you're getting from her. And I think we've seen from just like videos of her from different documentaries, she's fiery, which is what makes her so good and so passionate. Like you see her play with everything. She's putting it all out on the court. And I think this is just, you're seeing her emotions do the same thing in the press conference. Did it come off well? No. But also, you have to understand that the press is going to run with whatever you throw at them. And if you give them the hint of like self centeredness or anything, they will spin it into something way bigger than it is. Because I think Coco even came out and said, no, she's a great opponent. She's a terrific tennis player. Didn't take it personally. They can both understand the headspace that she was in. I think it's the general public that just blew this up. Maybe you shouldn't say those kind of things, but also it's on both sides, the public and her, to just know a little better.
Yeah, no, 100%. I've always actually been on the fence about being humble after a loss, right?
Yeah.
I understand. Like I'm probably I after losses, like I'm not one to be like they didn't deserve it, blah blah blah, this and that, whatever. But I can empathize with athletes that lose, especially in this magnitude, where it's just like why do I need to stand up here and be humble right now when like my
Right.
whole life is winning and like my whole sense of self is winning and
Yes.
and I just fucking lost.
Yeah. Especially with tennis. Yeah. Talk about trying to separate your identity from you as an athlete. You can't. It is you and your performance, no one to fall back
Oh
on.
yeah, yeah. Which is why you got to start blaming the weather. And but no, like I can empathize with Ariana, and defeat is hard, and being a graceful loser is not an easy thing nor a fun thing to do. But yeah, I did feel like she diminished Coco's accomplishment. But at the end of the day, like they're competitors. Coco won. Coco knows she won. Ariana knows Coco won. The world knows Coco won. Coco does not need Ariana saying like, "Oh, thanks for beating me." Like you
Right.
beat me in great, like whatever.
Right.
So a great story, not much to it, I think. And then Ariana did come back and you know apologize for her statement and re clarify what she meant to say
Yeah,
in the heat of the battle. What
totally.
are you gonna do? Let's round out. I don't have a great transition for you, but we're jumping into basketball with the WNBA, which is my favorite sport.
Favorite sport. Now we got a lisp now.
Now I gotta this.
Southern
I don't
accent.
really know what I'm doing. But because we haven't talked in a while and done a podcast like this, we didn't really get to talk about the beginning of the WNBA season. So we're a month in. I mean, it started in May.
Yeah.
We're a month into the WNBA season. This was a really exciting season to kick off. All of the new rookies that are coming from college. You think about the big one, obviously, Paige Beckers, her playing for the Wings, and then Kiki Ruffin has been such a huge spotlight dominating for the Mystics in Washington over the past month, and even winning Rookie of the Month, and now I think having the best odds to win Rookie of the Year for the WNBA. So she's been great. But with that, there's been some injuries as well, right? Like fan favorite, Caitlin Clark has been out with a quad strain, and I'm sure you've seen some of the funny videos of her like trying to play it off and get some shots up in practice, and everybody's like, "Yo, Cece, sit down. Like, we're gonna need you to sit down." And then Paige Beckers with a concussion.
20 players total in the league. That's a high number, it feels like.
Yeah, yeah. So let's just knock on wood, no more. And just keep the girls healthy and let them play. But it's been a really exciting season. I think from my perspective too, as a Liberty fan, I've had a blast. I've
Did
been
we go
having
to
a
the
great
Liberty
time.
opener? Is that what we went to?
Oh my God, we did. We didn't even talk
We
about it.
totally did.
Yeah,
We totally didn't.
Maggie and I went to the Liberty opener against the Aces. I mean, you can talk about it. That place was rocking.
It was so good. The energy was insane. Also, I know we loved on her last time. We got to do it again. Ellie the Elephant came out with even more dances, even more scripting. Huge fan. And who is your new favorite player on the Liberty, Josh?
Come on now, talk to me. Cloud. I'm actually forgetting her first name.
Natasha Cloud.
Natasha Cloud. I was like, is it Nicole? It's not Nicole.
Not Nicole.
Natasha Cloud. Natasha Cloud. I was, oh my God, I've like never actually watched her play for real. I knew who she was when she joined the Liberty this offseason, but I never really watched her game. Oh, I love the way she plays. I love the way she plays. Like, it was so exciting. You saw me. Like, I was,
Yeah.
we'll keep it honest, guys. I was nursing a hangover. We had a nice going away party for my roommates. One of them was moving to Detroit. So I was nursing a little hangover, but she had me up on my feet. She had me up on my
This
feet.
is true. I can attest to this.
It
Most of the
was
game, head down, hand in hands.
hands
Natasha's
down.
on, standing up,
I'm up.
cheering.
I'm up. I'm up. She's my favorite player. I'm gonna get a Cloud9 jersey.
That is so good. Is she number 9?
She's number 9.
No, you're kidding. That's
She's
too
number 9.
good.
Cloud9. So, I mean, the way she plays basketball is amazing. She's just like just so much energy. She had that one play and one drive. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah, I'm reliving it right now. It was hype. But continue on the vein of the Liberty, and we'll also loop in the Minnesota Lynx, who were last year's finals participants, with the Liberty winning, of course. Both of them undefeated right now to start the season. The Liberty 9-0, the Lynx 9-0. They'll play again before this gets dropped. So will they continue the streak? Who knows? I don't know. But the record is actually 13-0 to start a season and held by the Minnesota
Wow.
Lynx. So 4 games away. We'll see if they can do that. But both teams just off to hot starts. Nafisa Collier on the Minnesota Lynx looks like the clear favorite to win the MVP already.
Wow.
She's averaging, I want to say 24 points. She's just playing out of her mind great basketball. So it's been really
Unrivaled. Did its thing. She got that
seriously.
training in. She didn't have to go anywhere. She went to Miami.
What's Miami? I'd love to go to Miami, get some training in, and then come back and be an MVP candidate.
Absolutely. Couldn't write
Absolutely.
it better.
You know what I mean? So I think I'm gonna put in for a week off maybe and come back and just be the best seller on my team. That's the
It's gonna
goal.
be the best version of myself I possibly
Be
can
the
be.
best version of me. But talking about finances, we can jump into the next piece of this too, which is that there was recently a list of the most or the highest valued W or not W teams. There was recently a list of the highest valued women's sports teams globally. Number one
Okay.
on that list, our very own New York Liberty at 450
Let's
mil.
go.
450?
450?
Yeah, yeah. And the owner of the Liberty is on the record saying that she wants to have the first women's sports team to hit $1 billion valuation. So they're nearly half the way there.
I mean, they're on track. And also think of you can't name a better sports market, honestly,
Yeah,
globally.
New
New
York
York
City.
City is the place to be.
Some would argue they're the best basketball team in New York.
Ooh, you didn't say it though.
Some would argue. Some would say that. And then it's really cool too because you look at the top five and there's two other W teams in there. The Dallas Wings at 208 million and then the Aces at 140 million valuation. So really cool to see the representation in the top five. We were talking about earlier. The Wings being in there is a surprise to me. I don't really know. I don't know. I mean, Dallas is what, like the fourth biggest city in the US? So maybe or fifth. I don't know. Uh,
Yeah.
kind of a surprise. Is Paige Beckers worth that much? I don't know.
I think
Enrique,
there's
like,
just sneaky money in Dallas.
oh,
Texas is holding on to a lot, and I think we discount that sometimes. And they got the big money down there.
there's some oil money for sure.
For
For
sure.
sure. For sure. But to wrap it up, we'll see if the Liberty can keep their streak going. They have their next two games this Saturday versus the Fever, but it's going to be CC-less. The first game against the Fever I watched on CBS. Electric. Electric. It was crazy. I mean, that game came down to the wire. CC
Yeah.
tried to get she tried to get a cheap one. She tried to get a cheap one at the end. I was like, you're not getting that call. You're not getting that call. But came down to the wire, was a great game. So this will be a great matchup again in Indiana. I'm not sure if you've watched a Fever game, but they pack that stadium out. I mean, the fans in
I bet.
Indianapolis, they care so much about basketball. They care
Yeah.
so much about basketball. So you're really in the perfect place to just essentially a basketball mecca. And they're having so much success on both the men's and women's side, obviously in the finals right now. Shout out to the Pacers, but will be a tough matchup. And then the following against the Atlanta Dream that haven't been that good this season. So hopefully two games they can win, keep that streak going, get past 13. So we'll see. I'm rooting for the Liberty personally. I do love Nafisa Collier, so I hope she has all the success in the world as well until we meet in the championship and get the dub. I guess I don't know. Am I supposed to have like parity now that I work for
I
the
always felt like that when I was like, I can't pick a favorite child, but then someone would ask me a follow-up question. I'd be like, oh, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think you're allowed to have a favorite,
yeah, go
just on the low.
Yeah. Well, I haven't been very low about it tonight. So
That's okay.
my apologies. But
Your opinions reflect nothing about your employer. So
100%, 100%.
we're safe.
It's in the bylaws.
We wrote them up ourselves, guys. Lawyered up.
That's perfect. Before we get delirious, I think we should go ahead and end the pod. Great
Thank you guys
chatting.
so much for listening again. We will hopefully see you next week once we get this show back on the road. And then we're going to try to keep this up while I'm at school, while you're kicking off the full year of NBA. So stay tuned. And as always, follow us on Instagram at Mixed Doubles Pod if you want more content. And give us a little follow, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, throw us a little 5 stars. Send us a text, shoot us an email. Is there comments you want to leave? Like feedback you have for us? We're all yours. So
Questions to answer, we can answer them.
until then, we'll see you next time.
Hasta luego. Bye.